Hi, this is Joel from Savonne. Today we're going to make a shaving soap. For many years everyone used the shaving cream out of the can. Lately there's been a bit of a trend going back to the old mug and brush method of making your shaving lather just like your grandfather may have done. So we're going to do that today. Now last time we made some dandelion and honey soap using the cold process method. Now that's where we take the lye solution and add it to the melted oils at just slightly above room temperature. Give it a little mix there and we pour it into the mold as batter. And the reaction occurs in the mold over the next 18 to 24 hours. Now today we're going to be using the hot process method. We start about the same way. We take the lye water, we add it to the melted oils, but we do it in a crock pot. And then we cook this soap batter for about an hour or so until the soap is finished. And then we'll take it out and put the final soap into the mold. Now I got this recipe from Lovin' Soap Studios. It's Amanda's recipe. I've never tried this before, so we're going to see how it goes. Now the one thing that's kind of unusual about this is soapers use sodium hydroxide when we want to make bar soap, and we use potassium hydroxide to make a liquid soap. This recipe uses both. It's a mixture of potassium and sodium hydroxides. It will make a soap, I think, that will be a little bit softer than your normal bar soap, which seems appropriate for a shaving soap, so we can get that to lather up well. So, like I said, I've never done this before, so let's see how it goes. So here we have our ingredients this evening, and there's some things about this recipe that are a little bit different from a normal cold process soap recipe. For one thing, we're not going to use any olive oil. Olive oil makes a very nice conditioning, moisturizing soap, but it doesn't lather very well. And because our goal here is to make a shaving soap, we definitely want it to lather well. So there is no olive oil in this recipe. What we do have though is coconut oil. We are going to use stearic acid. This is from Essential Depot. This is a vegetable-based stearic acid. We're going to use a bit of this. We also have shea butter. I'm not going to use this entire 5-pound cube. We're going to use some beef tallow. Tallow comes from beef. Lard comes from pigs. It's a lot easier to find lard in the grocery store than it is tallow, so I order the tallow from Home Depot. Here's our two different lyes. This one is the potassium hydroxide, and this one is the sodium hydroxide. We also have the essential oils. We're going to mix the lime, some patchouli, and cypress in there to give it a nice fragrance, and there's a little bit of vegetable glycerin in there to help it be nice and creamy and smooth. We're going to put all these in the crock pot here, all the oils, and heat it up, and that's going to take a little while because stearic acid has a melting point of about 175 degrees Fahrenheit, which is considerably higher than the rest of the oils. So it might take a little while to melt these down. When they're melted, I'll come back. Okay, we're back. It took quite a while to melt down those oils, particularly the stearic acid, because of its high melting point. But now we've got everything in there. So I'm going to go ahead and add our mixed lye here and hit it with a stick blender, and let's see what happens. This ought to be interesting. Already it's taken on the appearance of curdled milk. Got something in here now that looks like applesauce. I try not to let that lye solution get too cool. Usually when I make soap I put the lye in a water bath in my sink to let it cool down to do cold process. But here I didn't want that lye solution to get very cold because I didn't want it to solidify the stearic acid when it hit the hot oils. Okay, now we're starting to get something that's smoothing out a little bit. It's not as curdled looking as it was when we first put it in here. I'm just going to keep blending this for a bit there. As I mentioned earlier, this recipe comes from Love and Soap, and the amount of water that we used here was 5 times the amount of the lyes, which is unusual. Usually we use about 2 to 2.5 times water to lye, but this was twice as much as normal, and I'm glad we went for that excessively high, it seemed at the time, water content, because I can tell already this stuff is getting very thick, much more so than normally you'd see in a hot process recipe. And again, it's probably because of that stearic acid in there. Stearic acid makes a hard bar of soap, and because we put pure stearic acid in here at a pretty high concentration, it shouldn't be really too much of a surprise that it did this. Now the consistency seems to be changing a bit again. I can feel down at the bottom it seems thick, but this is actually smoothing out quite a bit now. Its viscosity has dropped way down compared to where it was just a few minutes ago. And now it seems, you can see that there, this almost seems like cold processed soap batter. Huh. Very thin now. Looks like we're at trace. You probably can see this pretty well. Soap makers use the term trace. In case you're not familiar what that means, I'm going to dribble a little bit of this soap batter on the surface. And you can see there that it leaves marks on the surface. It's just barely starting to trace now. But instead of disappearing immediately, the surface, you can see where the soap batter is dribbled on the surface. I'm going to mix this just a little bit more. Because we are going to cook this, it's going to get probably pretty thick. But I want to make sure we're at a good trace before I put the lid on this and walk away from it a little bit. You can see up here at the top where it's got up against the hot crock pot that it's got much thicker. Okay, we're definitely at trace now because you can see that where it's clearly leaving marks on the surface. This is a good medium trace, if not more. So I'm going to stop stick blending now. I'm going to put the lid on this, and I want to cook this. I'm going to cook it for at least an hour. I'll probably come back a couple times and stir it. If anything interesting happens during the stirring, I'll turn the camera back on so you can see the different stages of it. But otherwise, I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, we're back. It's been about a half an hour, so take a look here. I'm sure this is in focus. What we've got going on here is it's very thick. Got some liquid boiling up around the edges. This is has completely different consistency than hot processed soap usually does. I don't know if it's because of the potassium hydroxide or the stearic acid or what, but this is really, I don't know how to describe this. It's almost like cutting Play-Doh. So I'm going to try to stir it up here a little bit if I can. This is going to be a real trick to stir the essential oils into this if this doesn't loosen up a little bit. Interesting. Well, I'm just going to let this cook for another half an hour. Let's see what happens. Back in a bit. Okay, this is an hour in now. It is very, very stiff. Wow. I think, however, it's done. I could test it with pH paper, but I might give it the old zap test. What that is, for those of you who don't know, is you take a little piece of this soap and you stick it on your tongue. If it zaps you, then it's still got active lye in it. If it doesn't, then it's done. So I think I'm going to do that after I blow on it to cool it off a little bit. Okay, it's not zapping me. So I think this is about ready to put in the mold. I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to get the essential oils on it. I was thinking about trying to run it through a potato ricer, but I don't think that's going to work. Let's see, a potato masher might work. Whoa! And that's not going to really help the situation very much. Well, I'm just going to have to give it the best I can. I'm going to shut the heat off here. Yeah. Alright, let's give the oils a shot and see what they do. This is 2 parts lime, 1 part patchouli, and 1 part cedarwood. It's actually really nice. This would be I think this is going to be a really good combination for a shaving soap.